So if you're above 20% body fat and you want fully visible abs, that means getting down to about 12% body fat. And the first question everyone asks is, how long does that actually take? So in this video, I'm gonna give you the math, and then I'll show you why it almost always takes longer than you think, especially if it's your first time getting to 12% body fat. And to show you what I mean, let me introduce you to Joe. Joe is 39 years old, he works a sedentary job as a developer, weighs around 200 pounds or 90 kilos, and he's 5'10", 178 centimeters tall. He's turning 40 in 6 months and doesn't want to enter his 40s carrying the same belly he's been trying to lose since his late 20s. For the first time in his life, he wants to see his abs. And everything he's tried in the past has just led to more frustration. He would lose 5 to 10 pounds, feel good for a while, but then something always gets in the way and he goes back up to 200 pounds. But this time, it feels different. He's ready to put in more effort than ever before. Plus, his wife and friends planned a vacation trip for his birthday, so he's seen that as extra accountability. Now, just before he starts his journey, Joe comes across one of my videos on how to estimate his goal weight. Using photos on the screen, he estimates himself at 24% body fat and hits the like button like everybody should. Then, following the math, he calculates his lean mass at 152 pounds. He divides that by 0.88 and finds that his goal weight for 12% body fat is 173 pounds or 78 kilos, which means Joe needs to lose 27 pounds or 12 kilos to reach this goal before his birthday. If he drops 1 pound a week, that will take him 27 weeks, just about 6 months. And on paper, that's the answer. But if getting lean was as easy as doing the math, Joe and many more guys like him would already have abs. The reality is, Joe's been trying to get there for over a decade, and what I'm about to show you is what actually happens as you go from 24% down to 12% body fat. Because this process usually doesn't happen in one continuous straight line. To get to his goal, Joe will go through 3 different phases. So let's go over each phase and what advice I would give to Joe to go all the way to 12% body fat. Now, phase 1 is going from 24% down to 20% body fat. And at the beginning, Joe focuses on the fundamentals. He sets a goal of 8,000 steps per day. Using ChatGPT, he calculates his calories to 2,100 a day and starts tracking some of his meals. He aims for about 160 grams of protein a day, and he generates a basic 3 days per week training routine. This plan is a solid starting point, but the way Joe's doing it does have some gaps. For example, during the week, he logs most of his meals, but on the weekends, he's just estimating. Some days at work, more snacks sneak in and doesn't really enter them in the log. And when a workday gets really busy, he fails to get his steps. But even with all the gaps, after the first 6 weeks, there's decent progress. Joe drops about 8 pounds and gets down to 192 pounds. His pants went down a size, face looks leaner, and shirts look looser. And for the first time in a long time, he's gaining good momentum. But then something starts bothering him. He starts seeing the scale go down to 190 pounds during the week, but when one day comes around, he's always back up to 192, sometimes 193 pounds. And after seeing this happen a few weeks in a row, Joe gets frustrated. He's thinking maybe his metabolism slowed down, maybe 2,100 calories is too high, or that he needs more cardio. And if Joe was one of my coaching clients, this is the moment I would stop him and explain what's actually been happening. Some of that early weight loss he's had was definitely body fat, but some of it was also less glycogen and water weight. And once that initial drop is over, you see the real numbers. And this is where the gaps in Joe's plan are catching up with him. It's not about making the Monday to Friday, which is already good, perfect. It's about fixing the weekends. So I'd have an honest conversation with him about pre-planning the weekend meals, tracking all the snacks that are reducing progress even on the weekdays, and taking early morning walks before the day gets busy. And once he does that, things start moving again. By week 10, he's seeing 189 pounds on the scale, right around 20% body fat. And in total, it takes him 10 weeks to finish phase 1 going from 24% to 20% body fat. Now phase 2 is where Joe's fat loss starts feeling different. The scale is still going down, but the rate of progress is much slower. Some weeks Joe only loses about half a pound, and this is where his impatience starts growing. From Joe's perspective, he's fixed the weekends, he's consistent with steps, but the progress is too slow. And to make things worse, he just had an event with co-workers and went over 2,500 calories with all the food and drinks. He stepped on the scale the next morning and saw the scale went up by 4 pounds. With about 3 months left until his birthday vacation, he feels like he's behind schedule and decides to cut calories down to 1,700. And at first, this works. Within a few days, the scale goes back down. But then his hunger starts becoming overwhelming, and just 5 days later, this turns into a real binge. He eats 3,000 calories over his target in one day, and even follows it up with a big breakfast the next day. The way it happened, it almost feels like it wasn't him. His impulses took over, and he was barely able to stop himself from eating even more. And if I was giving Joe advice for phase 2, this is when I would step in, because this type of restrict and binge cycle is why so many people get stuck. Joe's instinct that something needed to change was actually correct. After losing weight for several months, his body adapted and he wasn't burning as many calories as before. But when he suddenly dropped down to 1,700 calories, his hunger went through the roof and he couldn't control himself anymore. So instead of going straight down to 1,700, I dropped his calories from 2,100 down to 1,900 while increasing his steps to 10K per day. This combination of a slight reduction in calories plus a slight increase in daily movement is a lot more sustainable, as you're able to have more food while still creating a calorie deficit. Now, because of the co-worker event and the binge, Joe lost another 2 weeks of progress. So in total, phase 2 took him 13 weeks. By now, he's been dieting for 23 weeks to go from 200 pounds at 24% body fat to 180 pounds at 16% body fat. And now, Joe's entering phase 3, which is his final push to 12% body fat. The vacation for his 40th birthday is only 2 weeks away, and Joe really tries to push for those 2 weeks, but he's running out of time. When the day of the trip finally arrives, he sees 179 pounds on the scale. This is the leanest he's been in over 15 years, and in good lighting, he can even see some of his abs. He's getting a lot of compliments from his wife and friends, and with all of this, a part of Joe starts second-guessing the original goal. Maybe the physique that he has now is good enough. And after 6 months of dieting, he's also tired of managing calories and pushing hard. So when the birthday vacation begins, Joe decides to give in a bit. He stops tracking, has a few drinks every day, and relaxes for the first time in months. And by the time he gets back home, he's up to 185 pounds. At first, he tells himself that he'll be right back on track. But a week passes, then another, and he just can't seem to get into that same locked-in mindset. Before he knows it, a full month has gone by. Joe hasn't completely let himself go, but he's stuck in this strange limbo state around 183 pounds. He's not really following the plan 100%, but he's not ready to give up either. He knows what to do to reach 173 pounds, but can't get himself to do it. And this is something I see all the time. This moment is when so many people burn out and walk away from their goal. It can happen at any body fat percentage. And if Joe was one of my coaching clients, we would have an honest heart-to-heart about what's been going on. Because at this point, he doesn't need another diet tactic. He needs perspective. Mentally, he feels an enormous amount of resistance. It feels 10 times harder than before to do the exact same thing. And it's all because he lost momentum. And the thing is, 5 years from now, Joe won't care whether this took him 6 months or 8 months or a year, but he will remember that he finished what he started and how good it felt to finally get there for the first time in his life. Deep down, he knows he'll regret not pushing through when he was already so close to the goal. So instead of walking away and getting complacent, Joe listens to the advice and slowly tightens things up again and decides to finish the job. And 10 weeks later, he finally sees 173 pounds on the scale. His physique is now at a true 12% body fat with fully visible abs. he looks great. So how long did it actually take Joe to get from 24% to 12% body fat? Well, phase 1 took him 10 weeks, phase 2 took him 13 weeks, and phase 3 was 16 weeks. In total, it took Joe 39 weeks to hit 12% body fat, roughly 9 months instead of the original 6 months. The math was correct from the beginning, but Joe isn't a robot with perfect daily execution. No one is. I've been lean now for over 15 years, and I work with over 1,000 guys to help them get there. And I can tell you, no one cares if it takes a little bit longer to reach your goal, as long as it's sustainable and as long as you're progressing over time. It's all about consistency, patience, and finding solutions in those difficult moments when it matters the most. That's the difference between reaching the goal and never getting there. If you'd like my help to do this and you would like to work with me, details for coaching are in the description below, so check those out. I'll leave another important video for you here at the end, so check out the video and I'll see you right there.